What's going on, guys? B Scott here with you. Week 1 of the NFL season's in the books. Fantasy week 1 is over. It's time to look ahead to week 2. Looking at the quarterback sit starts. We had a crazy Monday night football game with an outstanding finish, but we're going to take the time today to go over every single matchup for all the quarterback sit starts. So keep it locked and loaded right here at the first 4 downs. What's going on, guys, and welcome back. As I mentioned in the preview, we're going over the quarterback sit starts ahead of week 2 from every single matchup. So before we get to today's content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, all that good stuff. Comment if there's a quarterback that you want to hear about and I didn't mention him or I didn't talk enough about him. Drop it in the comment section. I'll be glad to get back to you and tell you my opinions. So let's dive right into it. First matchup we're going to be looking at Thursday night football game, New York Giants on the road against the Washington football team. I'm not starting any of these quarterbacks. It makes sense. Washington football team just held Justin Herbert. I get it. He had 300 yards, but only 1 passing touchdown. And on the flip side, Daniel Jones, you're not starting him anyway, in my opinion. Not even in a QB2 league, especially against the Washington football team. So you're not starting Daniel Jones. And then on the Washington football team, Taylor Heineke. I do like him a lot as a decent, manageable quarterback. But for fantasy, there's not a lot of value here. Teddy Bridgewater, 260, 2 touchdowns against these Giants just last week. I get it. Heineke could have a decent day here, but you're not starting him in fantasy. So these 2 quarterbacks I'm staying away from. It's probably going to be a low-scoring affair. Going to have a low over-under. I want no part of these quarterbacks in this matchup. The next matchup, New England Patriots on the road against the New York Jets. Mac Jones is a questionable start for me right here. I mean, 200, almost 300 yards and had the passing touchdown. Played a pretty safe day, and I think you're going to see a lot of lines like this, 250 to close to 300 yards, 1 to 2 passing touchdowns. And the Jets. You know the secondary's bad. Sam Darnold just had a few touchdowns on him. I think Mac Jones right here is a fringe start in a deeper league. Absolutely, he could get a couple through the air. The Jets defense did not look good, so Mac Jones is a possible option here. On the other side, Zach Wilson, albeit came away with some pluses and minuses in his rookie debut. I'm not starting him against the New England defense that held Tua to what they did last week. I mean, I'm just not starting Zach Wilson here in this spot. New England defense looks good, so obviously, Mac Jones, if you're taking a chance at the quarterback position, which this early in the season you probably shouldn't have to be, but if you're in a super deep league, I think he could have a pretty decent day here. Denver Broncos on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Teddy Bridgewater. This is a good start for me, in my opinion. Now, yes, obviously in deeper leagues, you possibly be starting him here. He's a good QB2 option this week. 268 passing yards, 2 touchdowns last week against the New York Giants football team that has a pretty good defense. So coming into Jacksonville, which Tyrod Taylor just lit him up, I mean, Bridgewater's a definite start for me, especially in Superflex or 2 QBs. On the other side, Trevor Lawrence. I think the Denver Broncos defense is very good. I really do. They're a lot better than advertised. This is going to be a tough spot for me for Jacksonville. I get it, Trevor Lawrence in garbage time. 300-plus yards, 3 touchdowns last week with 3 interceptions. Still had a manageable day, but I don't know what Jacksonville's doing over there. They should be running the ball first and not relying just solely on Trevor Lawrence, but it is what it is. They're going to lose a lot of football games, by especially getting blown out by the worst team in the league, the Texans of all teams. So obviously, Bridgewater in 2 QB leagues, he's a start for me. Trevor Lawrence, yeah, you could take a shot in garbage time. Possibly he has some fantasy relevancy, but this is not a good start for Trevor Lawrence. Start Bridgewater if you got to. The Buffalo Bills on the road against the Miami Dolphins. Josh Allen, 400 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns in week 2 last season against these same Miami Dolphins. Albeit their secondary looked improved. They played pretty good against the New England Patriots. They probably should have lost the game. Got lucky with the fumble at the end, but that's neither here nor there. You're starting Josh Allen. There's no way around it. He had a tough game against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense that looked great. So you're starting Josh Allen. It makes sense. On the flip side, Miami Dolphins. Tua didn't wow me, especially against the New England Patriots defense that was better than advertised. And now you got the Buffalo Bills. This is not a good spot. You're not starting Tua in this matchup. Josh Allen all the way. Now on to the San Francisco 49ers on the road against the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts coming off a game, 260 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 60 rushing yards. Played great against an Atlanta defense that looked like we expected, not very good. Now he's playing the 49ers defense. They looked decent in spots, but they also gave up a lot in garbage time, played pretty sloppy down the stretch of that game. They did lose one of the top corners in the secondary. Is the defense really going to hold up for the 49ers? Already got kind of some guys that are nagging a little bit. Greenlaw left with a groin. So we'll have to wait and see with that defense. But you're starting Jalen Hurts possibly as a top 12 option every single week. Even in a somewhat tough matchup with the 49ers defense. But I'm not scared of it. I'm starting Jalen Hurts. No problem. On the flip side, Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion, is a fringe QB2 option every single week. This is not a good spot. I think the offensive line is great for the 49ers. They look pretty good. They ran the football great, effectively. But that Philly pass rush is looking healthy and ready to get after it. So I'm obviously not going to be starting Jimmy Garoppolo in single quarterback leagues. QB2s, you want to take a chance here. I get it. There might be some points to be had, but Jalen Hurts all day long. The Los Angeles Rams on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. You're starting Matthew Stafford, 300 plus yards, 3 touchdowns against the Chicago Bears defense that was middle of the pack, but we saw that the secondary was not playing very good. The Colts defense is above average, and I think they're better than what they were against the Seahawks last week, but Russell Wilson cooked him up, 4 touchdowns, 260 plus passing yards, so I like Stafford in this spot. Could be a tough day for him, but you're going to be starting him if you draft him as your QB1 anyway. So fire up Stafford, feel free. On the flip side, Carson Wentz didn't look very good, and going against the Los Angeles Rams defense that I wouldn't be starting at all. Very few quarterbacks against the Rams defense. So obviously you're not starting Carson Wentz this week, and go ahead and roll with Stafford. The Las Vegas Raiders on the road against Pittsburgh Steelers. Derek Carr, outstanding game last night against the Baltimore Ravens defense that didn't look great in the secondary, but going against Pittsburgh defense that shut down Josh Allen. So there's no way you're starting Derek Carr, in my opinion, this week. Great game last night. 400 plus passing yards, 2 touchdowns, but going against a Pittsburgh Steelers defense at home, no thank you to Derek Carr. On the flip side, Ben Roethlisberger. I thought there could have been more points to be had with the Buffalo Bills, and I knew coming in those 2 defenses were going to play good. So, yes, it was a tough spot for Ben Roethlisberger, but this week, going against the Las Vegas Raiders defense, with that front line, Max Crosby, Mad Max, I don't want no part of it. We already know the offensive line of the Steelers has struggled, and you got that pass rush of the Las Vegas Raiders, and you saw what they did to Lamar Jackson last night. I don't want no part of Ben Roethlisberger in this matchup either. So I'm staying away from the quarterbacks altogether in this matchup, looking for better options. Cincinnati Bengals on the road against Chicago Bears. Joe Burrow, interesting guy for me to be starting here in a 12-man league. This is a possible start. 260 plus passing yards yesterday, 2 touchdowns. Only threw the ball, only dropbacks 27 times. So Burrow, who knows if that big volume that you're expecting is going to be there, but you're probably starting him here against the Chicago Bears defense that did allow 300 plus passing yards, 3 touchdowns to Matthew Stafford, albeit that's the Los Angeles Rams. So Burrow, possible fringe start here in 10, 12-man leagues. Obviously in 2 QB leagues, you're probably firing him up, no problem. And on the flip side, you're not starting Andy Dalton. You're just not going to, in my opinion. If Justin Fields is named the starter tomorrow, yes, you're firing Justin Fields as a starter. But I'm not starting Andy Dalton at any point this season, no matter the matchup. The Houston Texans on the road against Cleveland Browns. I don't know if I necessarily love a quarterback in this matchup. Baker Mayfield threw over 300 yards, but no touchdowns. In this matchup against the Houston Texans defense, I think where Trevor Lawrence had 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, I think you could start Baker here in a plus matchup. Now, I worry that they're going to run the ball down the throat of the Texans, control the clock, and dominate the Texans, period. I mean, I like the Texans. I like what they did. They looked good against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's not the Cleveland defense where you saw them up on the Chiefs for most of that game. Now the argument, oh, well, Tyrod Taylor could be an option here. You know what? I don't like it against the Cleveland defense that is good. Now, yes, they were playing the Kansas City Chiefs, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. These are guys that hardly can be defended by anybody. So, yes, I still believe in the Cleveland defense. I think they're above average. They're better than advertised. They're going to be really good this season at home against the Houston Texans team. Baker Mayfield, quarterback. Maybe you fire him here because he could have a big day. I think they're going to run the football. They're going to pound it regardless. And then Tyrod Taylor, I'm staying away at the quarterback position. New Orleans Saints on the road against the Carolina Panthers. Sam Darnold, you're never starting him anyway. At least not for me. If you're a Sam Darnold truther, that's fine. But I'm not. I'm never starting him no matter what. He had an okay day. Touchdown on the ground, touchdown through the air against the New York Jets defense that was terrible. So he did okay, but I'm never trusting him, especially against the Saints defense that just destroyed Aaron Rodgers. So on the flip side, Jameis Winston, a possible start here. Now, Carolina defense, they're pretty good. Their secondary is good, but they did give up 2 touchdowns to Zach Wilson. So, yes, if you want to start Jameis Winston here, you need him in a pinch. In a QB2 league, I'll be starting Jameis Winston. He's definitely an option here. I think the Saints have a good shot at winning this game regardless. So, Jameis Winston, possible QB2. Maybe he'll flirt with the QB1 numbers. And then Sam Darnold, there's no way. The Minnesota Vikings on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. You're starting Kyler Murray. It doesn't matter. 5 touchdowns last week. Looked great, period. Potential MVP, in my opinion. I mean, he's on pace already, but we'll have to wait and see. I still like Josh Allen personally, but that's okay. Kyler Murray, QB1. Going against the Minnesota Vikings defense that didn't look very great. Gave up 150 yards on the ground pretty much. Another 270 through the air. Kyler Murray's in for another big fantasy day. Obviously, you're starting him and set it and forget it. Kirk Cousins, on the other hand, 350 passing yards, 2 touchdowns against the Bengals defense. This is the Cardinals defense. That pass rush, they just sacked Ryan Tannehill 6 times. So obviously, I got to weather the expectations of Kirk Cousins. I like him here in a potential shootout game. Dalvin Cook didn't look necessarily great last week. We'll see what he can do. But I do like Kirk Cousins here, especially in QB2 leagues, Superflex leagues. I think there's a potential for big fantasy points in this game. Kirk Cousins coming off a great game. But you got to weather the expectations. Who knows how that pass rush, if that Arizona Cardinals defense is legit as advertised, at least from week 1, it might be a long day for Kirk Cousins. Atlanta Falcons on the road against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady, you're firing him up, period. He's probably a top 5 option easily this week against an Atlanta defense that doesn't look great. That Atlanta team, it looks like a mess. So on the flip side, Matt Ryan, you're not starting him in this matchup. Not against the pass rush like that. You thought the Eagles got after him? Imagine Tampa Bay's front. So you're not starting Matt Ryan here. This is going to be a long season for the Falcons if they continue on this path. It doesn't look good. The whole offense was stagnant. The Atlanta Falcons, a lot like the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm almost out on them completely. It's teams that are going to lose a whole lot of football games. So obviously you're starting Tom Brady, and Matt Ryan, he's on the bench. Tennessee Titans on the road against Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson coming off an outstanding game, damn near perfect performance. You're starting him, period. 4 touchdowns through the air. Russell Wilson, you're starting him. There's no arguments. On the other side, Ryan Tannehill had a bad day, period, against Arizona pass rush that sacked him 6 times. He was never comfortable. Never got comfortable. They never found that offensive rhythm. Julio Jones missed a lot of time. A.J. Brown missed a lot of time. It might take a few weeks for this Tennessee Titans offense to get up and going, but I still like them here against Seattle defense. That actually is pretty good, but I think Ryan Tannehill should probably have an okay day here. You're going to be starting him if you drafted him as your QB1. Dallas Cowboys on the road against Los Angeles Chargers. Must starts for both these quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, albeit the Chargers secondary is good. It really is, but it's still a smash spot for Dak Prescott. You're not sitting him. He looked great against Tampa Bay. Shocked a lot of people, including me. I thought he was going to be a little rusty. Not even close. For the Chargers, Justin Herbert, you're firing him up here. Last week, I told you he was going to have a tough start against the Washington football team. 300 plus passing yards, which actually was a shock for me. But he only had 1 touchdown. Dallas Cowboys just gave up a lot of points to Tom Brady last week, so you're starting Justin Herbert. No problems here as a top 5 option this week. Now we look at the game of the week. Kansas City Chiefs on the road against the Baltimore Ravens. You're starting Patrick Mahomes no matter what. You draft him number 1 as your quarterback, 1 overall. You're starting him every single week. It doesn't matter. Lamar Jackson, this is another guy you're probably starting. He had a tough day against the Las Vegas Raiders, and they got after him, plain and simple. But with his rushing ability, 86 rushing yards, the floor is safe for Lamar Jackson to finish as a top 12 to 15 quarterback every week, no matter what, even in a bad game. So I think he possibly bounces back here. Lots of points projected in this game, so obviously you're starting Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. In the Monday night matchup, you got the Detroit Lions on the road against the Green Bay Packers. You're starting Aaron Rodgers. I know, I couldn't believe it myself to see the stat line that Aaron Rodgers had. I mentioned about the Green Bay Packers, man. They probably should have just called in sick because, it was an embarrassing game for all facets of that football team. So, but Aaron Rodgers against a Detroit Lions defense that is not going to be good. Probably the worst defense in the league for sure this year. You're starting Aaron Rodgers. Plain and simply, you draft him as a QB1, you're starting him. On the flip side, Jared Goff. Coming off a great game. 300 plus passing yards. A few touchdowns. Yes, Jared Goff had a pretty good game against the Niners defense that was playing soft defense in prevent. So yes, could Jared Goff have another day in which he sees a lot of volume and gets a lot of garbage time fantasy points? Sure, he does. So maybe in a QB2 league, you want to take a chance on him. I'm straying away from it because I think Green Bay Packers are going to come back with a vengeance this week, and it's not going to be pretty. So that's it. That's been your QB sit starts for week 2. All the matchups, all the QBs that you're going to be starting in your fantasy lineup. So once again, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, all that good stuff. Comment if there's a quarterback you want to hear more about. Drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my opinion. So for the first 4 downs, it's been B. Scott, and I'm out.